It was the middle of July. One of those heavy, humid summer nights when the air feels thick and the streets are almost too quiet. It was a little after 2 a.m., maybe closer to 2:30. I had just left my friend's apartment. We'd been watching movies, laughing too loud, completely unaware of how late it had gotten. By the time I called an Uber home, the whole neighborhood had gone still. The driver dropped me off at the corner of my street. No cars passing. No people outside. No lights in the windows. Just the soft buzz of streetlights and that faint ringing silence you only notice when everything else is asleep. My apartment building was maybe 20 yards away. I remember thinking, good. Almost home. And then I saw him. Right across from the entrance to my building. A man. Standing in the middle of the street. Not walking. Not checking his phone. Not smoking. Just standing there. He wasn't dressed weirdly. Just jeans. A dark hoodie. Hands in his pockets. Completely ordinary. If I saw him at a grocery store, I wouldn't look twice. But something inside me tightened instantly. You know that feeling? When your stomach drops for no logical reason? When your body reacts before your brain does? I slowed down without even realizing it. He wasn't facing me directly at first. He was angled slightly toward the building entrance. Like he was watching it. Waiting. For someone to come out. Or go in. My building. My entrance. There were only 2 working streetlights on that block, and one of them flickered every few seconds. Every time it dimmed, his face seemed to disappear into shadow. And then, the flicker stopped. The light steadied. And he turned his head. Slowly. Not surprised. Not curious. Like he had been expecting me. Our eyes met from across the street. And I swear I felt it physically. Like a cold thread sliding down my spine. He didn't smile. Didn't nod. Didn't move. Just looked at me. Too long. The kind of stare that doesn't feel like someone noticing you, it feels like someone studying you. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe he lives here. Maybe he's waiting for a ride. Maybe he's just zoning out. But my body didn't buy it. Every instinct screamed, don't go to that entrance. The worst part? He didn't act normal. Normal people shift their weight. Look around. Check their phone. Adjust their clothes. He didn't. He stood completely still. Like he'd been placed there. And I suddenly had this horrible thought. What if he'd been standing there long before I turned onto the street? What if he'd been waiting, specifically for someone coming home alone? For me. I was 20 steps from the door. 20. And I had never felt that exposed in my life. The entire block felt like a stage. And I was the only one moving. And he was the only one watching. I forced myself to keep walking. Slow. Steady. Casual. Like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just felt my entire nervous system light up in warning. I crossed under the dark windows of my building, pretending to scroll through my phone. I even let out a fake yawn, like I was just tired and ready for bed. But I could feel it. That pressure. That awareness. He was still there. Watching. I turned toward the entrance, reached into my bag for my key fob, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Fast. Not running. But deliberate. Heavy. Closing the distance. My stomach dropped so hard it physically hurt. He was behind me. He had started walking the moment I did. And now he was gaining on me. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. Something told me if I made eye contact again, it would escalate. I slammed the key fob against the reader. The door buzzed. Too slow. Too loud. The sound echoed through the empty night like an alarm. The footsteps were right behind me now. I yanked the door open and practically threw myself inside, letting it slam shut behind me. I didn't wait to see if it latched. I just ran. Up the stairs. My legs felt numb. My lungs burned instantly. The first flight, gone in seconds. The elevator was to my right, its metal doors closed, silent. For half a second, I thought about it. No. Elevators trap you. I kept going. Up. Faster. My footsteps pounded against the concrete walls, echoing violently through the stairwell. And then, I saw someone standing between the first and second floor landings. A figure, back turned toward me, tall, thin, still. For one horrifying second, my brain betrayed me. He got inside. But then I recognized the outline, the hunched shoulders, the gray hair, the faint orange glow near his hand. It was Mr. Harris, my neighbor from the second floor. He was in his usual spot, smoking like he always did at night because his wife didn't allow it in the apartment. I almost collapsed from the rush of adrenaline. But I couldn't let him see how terrified I was. I couldn't look weak. So instead of gasping or stopping, I forced my voice out, too loud, too sharp. "Good evening." It came out almost like a shout. He flinched violently, spun around. His eyes were wide, confused. He hadn't heard me coming. He didn't say a word. He just stared. And that's when I felt it again. Another presence. Lower on the stairs. I turned slightly, and there he was. The man. He had made it inside. He stood one landing below us. Completely still. His face was darker here, shadowed by the dim yellow stairwell lights, but I could see his eyes. And they weren't confused. They weren't embarrassed. They were calculating. He hadn't expected anyone else to be there. You could see it. His posture shifted, not retreating yet, but reassessing. Like a predator who suddenly realized there was a witness. The stairwell was silent. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Mr. Harris was looking between me and the man, clearly sensing something was wrong. And the man just stared. Not at the old neighbor. At me. As if deciding whether he could still do something. Even with someone watching. Those few seconds felt endless. I realized something chilling. If Mr. Harris hadn't been there, if he hadn't been smoking like he always did, I would have been alone in that stairwell. With him. The man's jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed slightly. Then, without saying a single word, he turned. Slowly. Deliberately. And walked back down the stairs. No rush. No apology. No explanation. Just footsteps fading downward. And then the heavy front door opening. Closing. Silence. When I finally got inside my apartment and locked the door, my hands were still shaking so badly I had to try 3 times to get the key into the lock. I double-checked the deadbolt. Then checked it again. Every small sound in the hallway made my chest tighten. I didn't even take off my shoes. I just walked straight to my laptop. Our building has a shared security camera system. All the tenants can access the footage through an app. I'd never really used it before, it always felt unnecessary. That night, it felt like the only thing that mattered. I pulled up the recording from the front of the building and scrolled back. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. 30. And then I saw him. He appeared about half an hour before I came into view. He wasn't just standing randomly in the street like I had first thought. He had a car parked across from the entrance. Dark sedan. Nothing flashy. The kind of car you'd forget the moment you looked away. He was leaning against the driver's side door. Smoking. Scrolling on his phone. Completely calm. If you watched the footage without knowing what happened later, you'd think nothing of it. Just a guy killing time. But now I was watching it knowing what I knew. And suddenly, every detail felt wrong. He wasn't really using his phone. The screen lit up, yes, but every few seconds, his eyes lifted. Scanning. Not the street. The entrance. My entrance. He checked his watch twice. He shifted his weight. He looked up and down the block like he was waiting for someone specific. And then, about 3 minutes before I turned onto the street, something changed. He pushed off the car. Walked around it slowly, like he was about to get in and leave. He even reached toward the driver's door handle. Then he froze. And turned his head sharply to the right. Toward where I would soon appear. The thing is, I wasn't visible yet. The camera angle doesn't show the corner of the street where the Uber dropped me off. Which means, he saw me before I entered the frame. He had been watching that corner. Waiting. The moment I finally walked into view on the camera, you can literally see it. His entire posture shifts. His shoulders straighten. He drops the casual slouch. The cigarette falls from his fingers, not absent-mindedly, but intentionally, like he no longer needed to pretend. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't check his phone again. He doesn't glance around. He just starts walking. Directly toward the entrance. Toward me. The most terrifying part? The confidence. On camera, you can zoom in just enough to see his face for a second when he steps under the streetlight. There's no confusion there. No uncertainty. No "oh, I'm just heading the same way." His expression is focused. Purposeful. Like he had made a decision. Like he had already rehearsed what would happen next. I paused the footage right at the moment when I reached for my keys outside. He was only a few steps behind me. Close enough that if the door had taken one more second to buzz open, he would have been right there. Inside with me. I fast-forwarded to the stairwell camera. You can see him slip through the closing door just before it fully shuts. He doesn't rush. He doesn't look nervous. He walks in like he belongs there, like he's done this before. That realization hit me like ice water. This wasn't random. He didn't suddenly decide to follow a girl walking home. He had been there 30 minutes early, waiting, watching, choosing. And if Mr. Harris hadn't been standing between the first and second floor at that exact moment, there would have been no interruption, no witness, no reason for him to stop. I replayed the moment in the stairwell. You can't see his face clearly there, just his body language. But you can see the exact second he notices my neighbor. His movement slows. His head tilts slightly, calculating, weighing the risk. And then he turns around. Calm, controlled, leaves the building, gets back into his car, and drives away. No hesitation, no panic, just adjustment of plan. I sat back in my chair, staring at the paused screen. My apartment suddenly felt smaller, because the scariest part wasn't that he followed me. It was that he had been ready, and next time, he might wait somewhere without cameras. The next morning, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the stairwell, the landing, the way he stood there, the way the other man stopped when he realized we weren't alone. Around 9 a.m., I decided I needed to do something that felt normal. I was going to thank Mr. Harris. Because whether he realized it or not, he had saved me. And I had probably scared him half to death screaming "good evening" at his back in the middle of the night. I walked down to the second floor. The hallway felt different in daylight, too bright, too ordinary. The kind of normal that makes you question your own memory. I knocked on his door. Once. Twice. After a moment, the door opened slightly. It wasn't Mr. Harris. It was his wife. I had only seen her a handful of times. Small woman. Always quiet. "Hi," I said, trying to smile. "I just wanted to thank your husband for last night." I think I startled him on the stairs, but her face changed. Not confusion. Not annoyance. Her eyes widened slowly, like I had said something deeply wrong. "My husband," she repeated. "Yes, he was smoking between the first and second floors. Around 2:30. I just wanted to say thank you." She grabbed the doorframe like she needed support. "You must be mistaken," she said quietly. My stomach tightened. He passed away last week." The hallway seemed to tilt. "I'm sorry, what?" "He had a stroke," she continued, voice trembling now. "Right there. On the stairs. Between the first and second floor. He went down to smoke, like he always did. And that was it." My ears started ringing. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible. We buried him 6 days ago." She was still talking. But the words felt far away. Because I could see it. Clear as daylight. The orange glow of the cigarette. The shape of his shoulders. The way he flinched when I spoke. The way he turned around. The way he stood there. Between me and that man. I had spoken to him. I had looked directly at his face. He had looked back at me. Alive. Aware. Present. "I'm so sorry," his wife said softly. Are you feeling okay? I don't even remember what I replied. I walked back to my apartment like I was underwater. Everything muffled. Everything distant. The only thought looping in my mind. I saw him. I spoke to him. He answered me with his eyes. And then another thought crept in. If he had a stroke on that landing. If that was where he died. Maybe that was where he stayed. The security footage doesn't cover the stairwell landing clearly. The camera angle cuts off right before that exact spot. There's no video proof of him being there. No digital evidence. Just me. But I know what I saw. And I know what didn't happen. That man on the stairs, the one who followed me, he stopped. He calculated. And he left. Because someone else was there. Someone who shouldn't have been. Now, every time I pass between the first and second floors, I slow down. Just a little. The air always feels colder there. Even in summer. Even when the heat is on in winter. Sometimes, and I've never told anyone this, I catch the faint smell of cigarette smoke. Even though no one in the building smokes inside anymore. And every single time, without fail, I glance at that exact spot on the landing. The place where I saw him standing. Back turned. Guarding the stairs. I don't run anymore. I don't rush. I just pause for half a second. And quietly whisper, "Thank you." Because whatever stood there that night, it made sure I wasn't alone. And I have a feeling, if something like that ever waits for me in the dark again, he'll be there, between the first and second floor, exactly where he always was.